Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi en route to Russia's Kazan for the 16th BRICS summit says India values close cooperation of BRICS members. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits West Asia for new Gaza ceasefire push. Israel launches new wave of airstrikes. In the US, electioneering at its peak. Kamala Harris campaigns in 3 key swing states. Trump visits hurricane-hit North Carolina. Indian coastal states of West Bengal and Odisha on high alert as Cyclone Dana approaches. Landfall expected near Temple Town, Puri on Thursday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to Russia's Kazan on Tuesday for the 16th BRICS summit. Prime Minister issued a departure statement before leaving for Russia. I quote him, he says, "I am departing today on a 2-day visit to Kazan at the invitation of Mr. Vladimir Putin. I will be there to attend the 16th BRICS summit." Prime Minister is en route to Kazan to attend the 16th BRICS summit. He will be there for a 2-day visit. Up on our screens, we will have the departure statement by the Prime Minister. He says, departing today on a 2-day visit to Kazan at the invitation of Vladimir Putin. He will be there to attend the 16th BRICS summit. He says India values the close cooperation within BRICS, which has emerged as an important platform for dialogue and discussion on issues concerning the global development agenda, reformed multilateralism, climate change, economic cooperation, building resilient supply chains, promoting cultural and people-to-people connect, among others. The expansion of BRICS with the addition of new members last year has added to its agenda for inclusivity and global good. Building upon the annual summit held in July 2024 in Moscow, my visit to Kazan will further reinforce the special and privileged strategic partnership between India and Russia. I look forward to meeting other leaders from BRICS as well. During his Russia visit, Prime Minister Modi will not only take part in the BRICS summit, but will also hold key bilateral meetings with other top world leaders in Kazan, including Russia's President Vladimir Putin, to enhance India's foreign relations. DD India's Jessica Taneja reports from Kazan.
During the visit, Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold bilateral meetings with leaders. These talks will focus on strengthening strategic partnerships and expanding cooperation in crucial sectors such as trade, defense, and technology.
This is a multilateral event, though of course there is always a provision for bilateral meetings on the sidelines. We are currently looking into the overall program of the Prime Minister. There are a number of requests for bilateral meetings.
28 heads of government and 5 international organizations will participate in the summit. Prime Minister's attendance will highlight India's growing diplomatic and economic engagement with BRICS, focusing on enhancing multilateral collaboration.
The city of Kazan has been prepared as the focal point of the summit, with BRICS insignia almost everywhere in the city. The summit's agenda would include both regional and global issues and also focus on political, economics and humanitarian partnerships among BRICS member nations. Security cooperation would also be a key feature at this event, since the leaders will be here with their high-level delegations to talk about more issues.
Prime Minister Modi's participation in the summit reflects India's increasingly significant role in shaping the BRICS agenda, particularly in areas like economic collaboration, global governance, and multipolarity. India's stance is consistent with its previous calls for reforms in multilateral institutions, emphasizing the need for these bodies to address the contemporary challenges of emerging economies. This focus on reforming multilateralism and fostering a multipolar world was reinforced by External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar at the BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting in New York last month. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's attendance at the 16th BRICS Summit offers a crucial platform for advancing India's diplomatic and economic objectives. With a focus on reforms, global governance, trade and security, India's participation will reinforce its strategic partnerships with BRICS and further its role in shaping a more equitable, multipolar world order. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Kazan is important for both BRICS summit as well as to strengthen bilateral relations with Russia. DD India's correspondent Jessica Taneja talked to India's ambassador to Russia, Vinay Kumar, for more updates.
The much anticipated BRICS summit is taking place here in Kazan in Russia. We have with us India's ambassador to Russia, Mr. Vinay Kumar.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir, for speaking to DD India and taking out time for us. What are the broad agendas that we're looking at, particularly in this summit?
In the forthcoming summit, all the issues that BRICS have been talking about in terms of economic cooperation, trade settlement through national currencies, cooperation for environment, sustainable development and climate change, promoting the economic developmental aspirations of global south, reforms of the global institutions to better reflect today's realities. All these issues are on the agenda that the leaders will discuss and decide.
This is going to be Prime Minister's second visit this year to Russia. The last time you and I spoke, many deals were signed, including there were talks about defense, energy sector, and also expanding to other sectors as well in terms of cooperation. What can be expected this time when the two leaders meet?
The two leaders this time will meet on the sidelines of BRICS summit. They have been meeting very regularly between the summit visit in July in Moscow, and now they have spoken on telephone. Some of the issues that we have been working on during this period is further strengthening of the cooperation in energy, in fertilizer, in export of Indian machine tools, pharma products, Indian food products, and there have been a number of meetings of the joint working groups in these sectors. Connectivity is a very important issue that we have been engaged in, and I think that when the leaders meet, without prejudging what they will talk, they will continue discussion on all these issues of mutual interest, and which will again give a good momentum to the relationship, which is already expanding almost every month.
Thank you, Ambassador, for speaking to DD India and taking our time and giving us those views. Appreciate it.
BRICS, that was BRIC in the beginning, is one of the most important intergovernmental organizations centered around the notions of multipolarity, demanding for decentralization of multilateral organizations and mutual cooperation. Envisaged in 2001 by a Goldman Sachs banker as a possible group of fast-growing developing countries, it now also boasts to raise the voice of Global South. As many new members have joined in and more are keen to join the grouping, let's take a brief look at this report by DD India.
The leaders of BRIC countries met for the first time in St. Petersburg in Russia on the margins of G8 Outreach Summit in July 2006. After a series of high-level meetings, the first BRIC summit was held in Ekaterinburg, Russia on 16th June 2009. In September 2010, BRIC Group was renamed as BRICS after South Africa was accepted as a full member at the BRIC Foreign Ministers' meeting in New York. Accordingly, South Africa attended the third BRIC summit in Sanya City in China on 14th April 2011. A further expansion of BRICS took place in 2024 with 5 new members, which includes Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. However, Saudi Arabia is yet to fully participate in the group's deliberations. India took over the BRICS chairmanship from Russia and held it until 31st December 2021. This was the 13th BRICS summit. The theme and approach of India's BRICS chairmanship was BRICS at 15, Intra-BRICS Cooperation for Community, Consolidation and Consensus. Many firsts were achieved during India's BRICS chairship, which included BRICS Digital Health Summit, first BRICS Water Ministers meeting, adoption of BRICS Counter-Terrorism Action Plan, launch of BRICS Alliance for Green Tourism, operationalization of BRICS Agricultural Research Platform, and signing of agreement on BRICS Remote Sensing Satellite Constellation. On January 1st, 2024, Russia has taken over as the BRICS chair. The 16th BRICS summit under Russia's chairship will be held from 22nd to 24th October in Kazan in Russia. The theme of the summit is strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. More than 250 BRICS meetings and other events have been proposed by Russia. The major activities for 2024 include integration of invited countries as full members of BRICS, further development of BRICS partner country model, and list of prospective partner countries and report by the next summit. The other achievements of BRICS cooperation include the group's flagship project, the BRICS New Development Bank. The first president of the bank was from India. NDB, the National Development Bank, has been a resounding success in providing a development-oriented bank catering to the EMDCs. EMDCs, BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement, BRICS Vaccine R&D Center, BRICS Remote Sensing Satellite Constellation, amongst others. Kazan BRICS Summit will provide an opportunity to member leaders to further strengthen the cooperation at a time when the world is facing two conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, as well as between Israel and Hamas. Bureau Report, DD India.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will pay an official visit to India from October 24th for the 7th intergovernmental consultations. The German Chancellor, along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will co-chair the 7th intergovernmental consultations on October 25th. The two leaders will also hold bilateral talks to discuss enhanced security and defense cooperation, greater opportunities for mobility of talent, deeper economic cooperation, green and sustainable development partnership, and collaboration in the area of emerging and strategic technologies. Discussions will also focus on important regional and global developments. Both leaders will also address the 18th Asia-Pacific Conference of German Business being held in New Delhi on October 25th. About 650 top business leaders and CEOs from Germany, India and other countries are expected to participate in the event. Chancellor Scholz has visited India twice last year for a bilateral state visit in February 2023 and to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. India and Germany have a strategic partnership since 2000. The two countries are celebrating 50 years of science and technology collaboration this year. Defence Minister of India and his Singaporean counterpart held the 6th India-Singapore Defence Ministers Dialogue in New Delhi. The event also marks the decade-old Act East policy of India. Singapore Minister of Defence was accorded Guard of Honour at the Manekshaw Centre in New Delhi. The two defence ministers later co-chaired the 6th India-Singapore Defence Ministers Dialogue. Earlier, the visiting dignitary laid wreath at the National War Memorial and signed the visitors' book. Speaking on the occasion, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that this bilateral meeting follows Prime Minister Narendra Modi's successful visit to Singapore earlier this year. He also stressed that defence cooperation is an important area of bilateral relations between the two countries.
दोनों देशों के रिलेशनशिप का पार्टनरशिप का पहुंचना हमारे देशों के बीच बढ़ती निकटता का ये प्रमाण है। ये मीटिंग ऐसे समय में हो रही है कि भारत अपनी एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी का एक दशक पूरा कर रहा है, जिसमें सिंगापुर ने महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाई है। इस रीजन के देशों में इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन, कल्चरल टाइज और स्ट्रेटजिक कनेक्टिविटी के विकास में भी आपकी बहुत ही अहम भूमिका रही। हमारी बायलैटरल पार्टनरशिप का एक महत्वपूर्ण क्षेत्र है जो तीनों सर्विसेज के बीच फोकस डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन मैकेनिज्म और कंटिन्यूअस एंगेजमेंट के माध्यम से ये लगातार बढ़ रहा है।
India sent humanitarian assistance for the people of Palestine through United Nations Relief and Works Agency. The first tranche of assistance, comprising of 30 tons of medicine and food items, has departed on Tuesday. The consignment includes a wide range of essential medicines and surgical supplies, dental products, general medical items, and high-energy biscuits. You're watching DD India Live. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, US says it will be a dangerous move for North Korea to send troops to Ukraine. Power restored to most of Cuban capital Hawaii after nationwide blackout. Facebook owner Meta restarts facial recognition tech trial in celebrate crackdown. Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India Live. To launch another push for an elusive ceasefire in West Asia, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel on Tuesday, aiming at reviving the Gaza ceasefire talks. Now, this is Blinken's 11th trip to the region since the attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th last year that triggered the Gaza conflict. In a week-long trip, Blinken will visit Jordan on Wednesday and Doha as well, and will focus discussions on how to end the war. In his meetings with Israel and Arab countries, Blinken will drill down on day-after issues, particularly security, governance and reconstruction. Having detailed plans for each of these has been seen as prerequisites for achieving any lasting resolution to the conflict. The Secretary of the State will also discuss with Israel and other countries how to secure a diplomatic resolution to the conflict with Hezbollah, and will continue Washington's conversation with the Israelis about their expected response to Iran's missile attack. The retaliation could disrupt oil markets and risks further escalating conflict between the arch enemies. Though Hamas and Israel remain deeply at odds and are unlikely to make significant concessions before the November 5th US presidential election, which could upend the US policy. Earlier, US envoy Amos Hochstein held talks with Lebanese officials in Beirut on Monday on conditions for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. He said that the US was seeking to determine what more is needed to be done to make sure it was implemented fairly, accurately, and transparently. Let's get you updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. The Deputy United States Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, said that it would be a dangerous and highly concerning development if North Korea is sending soldiers to fight alongside Russia in Ukraine in the United Nations Security Council on Monday.
We have seen reports the DPRK has sent forces and is preparing to send additional soldiers to Ukraine to fight alongside Russia. If true, this marks a dangerous and highly concerning development and an obvious deepening of the DPRK-Russia military relationship. We are consulting with our allies and partners on the implications of such a dramatic move.
Britain will lend £2.26 billion to Ukraine as part of a much larger planned loan from the group of 7 nations to help buy weapons and rebuild damaged infrastructure. Defense Minister John Healey said that the money donated by Britain would be solely for Ukraine's military. He added that the use of Britain's share of G7 loan had been a feature of talks between Ukrainian President Zelensky and UK Prime Minister Starmer in talks in London 2 weeks ago. With 2 weeks to Election Day in the US, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are intensifying their efforts to sway the voters, especially in the swing states. Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate for the US presidency, focused her efforts on attracting moderate voters in 3 key swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin and Michigan, with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney to court undecided independents and Republicans. Harris said during the campaign event in Michigan that Trump would have Ukraine surrender to Russia if he wins the November presidential election.
He would surrender. He would have Ukraine surrender its fight against an aggressor, violating its sovereignty. If Donald Trump were president, Vladimir Putin will be sitting in Kyiv.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump criticized the government's handling of Hurricane Helene during his visit to the hard-hit state of North Carolina. At a rally, Trump reiterated conspiracy theories about the government's response to the disaster. Trump doubled down on the sharp attacks against his Democratic rival, adding that the vice president is a mess.
Kamala Harris does not have the compassion, the smarts, or the strength to be the president of the United States. She just can't do the job. She's a mess. She's a cognitive mess, and nobody wants to talk about it. And we can't have 4 more years. We had 4 years of it. We can't take another 4 years of it, can we? Did you ever hear the expression that the vote counter is far more important than the candidate? And unfortunately, we can't let that happen. We've got to take it back.
DD India is on an election trail to the US. My colleague Shubhendu Ghosh is in New York. He scans through some of the prominent newspapers and also takes us through the latest developments in the political contest for the White House. Take a look.
They say the beauty of New York in the fall season is unique, primarily because of the manner in which the leaves, as you can see in the background, turn into beautiful shades of yellow and orange. Well, let's turn to the newspapers and the big election stories of the day. We're beginning with the Daily News. It's talking about, interesting, 2 ways of cooking. Kamala heats up churches, Don slings fries at Mickey D's. Talking about Georgia, Vice President Kamala Harris told a congregation of large black church in suburban Atlanta on Sunday that people must show compassion and respect their daily lives to more than just preach values to others. Meanwhile, also on Sunday, former President Donald Trump worked at the fry station at the McDonald's in Pennsylvania before staging an impromptu news conference. In fact, he was answering questions from reporters through the drive-through window. Okay, so the next paper we are turning to is the New York Post. One person who's making as much news as the key contenders, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, happens to be Elon Musk. And this article talks about Elon's big shot. Well, billionaire Elon Musk made a wry joke about getting shot for his plan to give away $1 million checks to swing state voters in support of former President Donald Trump, just after handing out his second prize so far in Pennsylvania. He says that I hope I live tonight. Musk joke at the Roxy Theatre at Mackey's Rocks. This was just outside of Pittsburgh. Based on some of the things I'm getting, I might not. It's all fun and games, he says, until someone loses an eye or an ear. Hopefully, I don't get shot, says Elon Musk. Another article in the same paper is about the manner in which Obama is standing up to Donald Trump. The article reads, O stands up to Express. Former President Barack Obama delivered a stand-up monologue in North Las Vegas. He said that Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he wrote down the golden escalators 9 years ago. When he's not complaining, he's trying to sell you stuff and idea. And finally, let's turn to the New York Times. The manner in which campaigning is getting all loud is what the focus of the article is, especially in the swing states. It says bids for votes are drowning the 7 swing states. Electronic billboards along eastern Pennsylvania, ads for car dealership are now flashing images of the key contenders, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. It also talks about in Arizona, for example, college students are receiving a flurry of messages to go out and vote. For these 7 swing states, the campaign is happening right at their doorstep, and their attention is demanded by the key contenders. But those were the highlights of the newspapers published today. With camera person Jay Shankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in New York.
All right, let's turn focus to other updates. Electricity is slowly returning to Havana, Cuba's capital, days after a nationwide blackout plunged the country of 10 million into total darkness on Friday. According to Cuban officials, power has been restored to almost 90% of Havana. Over the weekend, Havana was entirely blacked out at night, with streets largely deserted and only a handful of bars and homes running on small fuel-fired generators. The ongoing blackouts have led to food spoilage and a decrease in tourist activities, with some tourists cancelling their trips to avoid inconvenience. 3 years ago, after Meta shut down facial recognition software on Facebook amid a groundswell of privacy and regulator pushback, the social media giant said on Tuesday that it is testing the service again as part of a crackdown on seller-bait scams. Meta said it will enroll about 50,000 public figures in a trial which involves automatically comparing their Facebook profile photos with images used in suspected scam advertisements. If the images match and Meta believes the ads are scams, it will block them. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, and you can download the respective QR codes on your screens. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us at In Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.